Hey card making friends, it's Sandi MacIver here. Welcome back to my channel. I have a fun and easy diorama snowman birthday card to share with you today. I purchased the Wonderland Treescape about, a couple months ago, and I decided it might be kind of fun to put the bundled snowman inside there and then use the falling snow die to decorate the front of the card. So here we go. Cardstock you need. We've got an A2 sized card base. We have 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card front, and then we have 2 4 by 5 1/4 pieces for the panels in between. You need another piece of white for the snowman, a little piece of pink, a little piece of orange for his nose, some black for his face, and some iridescent glitter for the trees. I am going to ink blend the cardstock for the layers today because I couldn't find the colors that I wanted to use. I'm ink blending with Seafoam, Surf, Ocean, and Guava. And I have just quickly gone through, I've done the Seafoam, now I'm working on the Surf. And what you want to do is just kind of get some color down and blend it in. I'm not worrying too much about it being completely even because I kind of like the look of it not being even. So just work your way through it. The third one is going to be the very last small one at the very back. So obviously I'm working from light to dark because the diorama is going to get darker as it gets deeper in. Okay. For the card front, instead of adding another piece of cardstock, I decided to put the sky color right on the front of the card base. This is A2 4 1/4 by 11 scored and folded at 5 1/2, and I'm going to use Surf and Guava, and you're just going to add near the bottom of the card where it opens, you're going to add the blue, and you just need a light layer of it. And then at the top portion, I'm going to add some guava, and you're going to notice when the two kind of hit each other, it turns to that cool little purple color. So yes, red and blue make purple. And we have sunsets like this around here. That's kind of where I got the color idea from. And at the end of the video, I'll share another card that I use this same color template on. I'm just going back in with a little bit of blue because I want to blend that center little purple part just a little bit. Okay, and I think that's going to work out well. Now we're going to cut out our pieces. So we have the Woodland Treescape. There are 3 kind of oval panels to do the diorama. And so again, we're going to go from biggest to smallest, lightest to darkest. And one tip, because we have added a whole bunch of ink, you want to be careful to put your tape on the inside where, let's call it garbage, the scrap is going to be, okay? Because we're keeping the outside pieces for our card, so put the tape on the inside. Because I haven't used this tape before and it's fresh, it's probably going to peel off the top layer of my paper because it's damp. So just be careful with that. So find spots on the inside where you can attach it just to the die and not to the outside panel. Okay, and the reason that the second 2 pieces are 4 by 5 1/4 is so that you have a little wiggle room when you're putting this together to kind of line it all up. So obviously we're going to die cut all of these, so we're just going to run these all through the machine. And then we're going to pop out the inside panel that we don't need. See, there's a little tear. That's what I was trying to warn you about from the outside. We're not going to need the lamp, so I'm just going to take my little embroidery scissors and I'm just going to trim that off. And there we go. There's our first 2 layers. And then this is the one that is going to go on top, and it's going to end up being the card front. Isn't that cool? Very cool. I love this color combination too, and it looks beautiful when you put it on the card base. So lined up like that, and then you'll see that that 1/4 inch came in very, very handy. All right, so I'm going to do a little bit of background noise on the front panel. I'm going to use the falling snow, and I made a stencil out of a piece of cardstock. I'm laying it over top of my front panel, and that's the one that is the lightest, done in the Seafoam. And I've got it on top of a piece of paper towel, and I'm just attaching it at the top. I'm going to use Glitz Glaze, and this is from, this one's from Brutus Monroe, I think. Yeah, I'll check. Anyway, put it through your little stencil, and this is going to create the snow, and it's going to be, I like to call it a little background noise. A little bit of something going on in the background, but it doesn't take over your card. It adds to it. So you want to stay kind of, you know, subtle. There's a good word, subtle. Clean your palette knife right away because this stuff is sticky. So then I'm going to peel off my stencil and just peel that back, and I'm going to set this aside to dry while I work on the rest of the elements for the card. Next, we're going to build our little snowman, and I made him out of white, and then I did more ink blending because I wanted his scarf to match what we're doing on the card. And now I have this piece of this iridized glitter, and I've got the trees on there, I've got the snowflake on there, and I've got the rim of his hat. So everything's been die cut, and I've got it on my little pad. This little round pad is what I use for gluing so I don't get glue all over my table. I'm taking a smaller ink blending tool, and I'm just adding, I think I use Surf on this one, so the medium color. Okay, and these are the two pieces for his scarf. And again, I'm not worrying about getting it even. If you decide that you want a little design on the scarf, now is a good time to stamp it on there or color it or whatever you wish to do. And this is the top of his little hat, his little toque. And that's going to be also in the blue, and that silhouettes nicely against the pink that's on the background. Okay, so we need to glue these little guys together. I'm going to start with the top of his little toque, adding a little bit of my craft glue, popping it in up there, and it lines up perfectly over top of that white base. Okay, and this is the neck part of the scarf that goes around his neck, and you'll see that it lines up perfectly with those two little points. And then this is the piece that goes down, and I'm going to add some dimension to it with some foam squares. And you want the top part to stick up a little bit so that it looks like a knot. Okay, this piece is a little tricky. First time I did this one, I put it in the wrong spot. It goes down here, it doesn't go up here, it goes down, and the edges wrap around his face. And if you do it the other way, you'll notice after you get it all glued together that it doesn't look very good. Okay, so now we're going to add his little nose. I'm adding just a drop of glue and adding the nose. I'm using my Place and Score embellishment wand with the wax tip to pick up all these tiny little die cuts. And adding his little eyeballs. And pushing them down into the glue. Then I'm going to add 3 more dots, and I do them in a little bit of an arch. That way it kind of gives his tummy a little bit of dimension. Okay, and you've got your 3 more little black dots to go down there, and then we're going to add the little heart. And I needed a winter birthday card. That's why I have a birthday sentiment going on. You could add whatever sentiment you wanted to. Instead of doing a little flat pom-pom for the top of his toque, I decided on a white pom-pom, and I'm just going to add a little bit of glue and pop that in there and hold it down for a few minutes. And then I did go back and trim that little piece underneath. Okay, so I'm dry fitting the diorama just to make sure that everything is going to be cool. And I'm going to add some glue to the very back piece. This one's going to go flat onto the card base, so you don't need any foam tape or squares or anything for this one. You're just going to pop it on there and try and get it as centered as possible. And then for the next one, to make the diorama, we are going to use foam squares. And silly me, I started with the small ones because that's what I grabbed first. I finally got smart and got a package of the larger ones. They go a lot faster, and then you can cut these little guys in half and go up the sides. Okay, so then you're going to remove the protective cover on the back, and you're going to lay this one down over top of the front one. Don't worry about lining up the edges, worry about lining up the diorama. Okay, and then I have my little snowman. He's going to fit right in there. I'm not going to glue him in there yet. I'm placing him in, dry fitting him, because I want to add these little snowflakes. And they're part of the Woodland Treescape die set. and I want them in the background. So again, I'm gluing them in. I like odd numbers. I think they look nice. So I'm just going to add 3 here, and I do add 2 more to the outside edge once I'm completely finished. Okay, again, we're using foam squares on the top panel, and this one is the one that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's going to cover and come up evenly with our card base. And so I use my scoring tool to do that. But first of all, I'm going to add a little tiny pieces to the backs of these trees because I don't want them to cave in when they're in the envelope. Okay, so remove the paper and then line this up into the top of your score buddy, and then use that corner panel to add that top piece and hopefully get it on there nice and straight. Not bad. I love how the diorama effect comes on this. Okay, so I have my little snowman. There's a little spot in there that I'm just going to tuck him down under, and it's between the first and the second, where we first added the foam squares. And he's going to sit in there like that. Isn't he cute? Okay, we're going to add the trees, and these are the overlay trees done with the glimmer foil or the glimmer paper. Again, I'm using my small foam squares this time. Cut them in half so that they fit behind the trees, and then I ended up cutting one of the half pieces into another 3 pieces to get little tiny squares to go in the top. So again, I want the dimension on the trees. I don't want them to end up laying flat. Get that release paper off the back, and I'm going to center this one in between those 2 front trees. Okay, and then the taller of the 2 I put over on the right-hand side, or left-hand side, sorry, because that tree was taller, so dimension-wise it looked better over there. And there we go, voila. I like that. Pretty. Okay, for the sentiment, I'm using the reversed Just Saying, and these are the pre-printed ones. And this is what I do with them. I put them into my cutter, and I cut really close to them, and then really close to the next one, and take out the gap in between. This one I did cut a little bit too close, so I'm going to trim it. And then it has a white edge because it's printed on white paper. I like to take my black marker and just go around the edge and black it out so that it has a nice finish. And then again, I'm coming back with my small foam squares, and I'm going to cut the edge off of 2 of them just to get nice skinny little pieces of foam square to put on the back of this sentiment just to pop it up a little bit. Lots of dimension on this card. You will pay extra postage for this one. I'm hand delivering mine, so I'm not too worried about it. But just a heads up if you're mailing it. Okay, so I have 2 more of the little glitter snowflakes, and I'm going to add these in the bottom left-hand corner with a little bit of glue. Then I decided that the center should have a little bit more bling, so I'm using my Prism Pawsitively Dazzling gems. These are kind of the clear silver ones. And I'm using all small ones because I'm putting them in the center of all of these little snowflakes. And that's all that I'm going to do. I figured with the glitter paper and the gems, there's plenty going on. Lots of ink blending, lots of layers. You don't want it to get too busy. Plus we have the snow coming down in the front as well. Okay, so just pop those back in. I love these little jars that these little guys come in. And there we go. There's our finished card. And I'm going to show you the other one. This is the one I did a couple of weeks ago, and original color combination that I put together. I also did the snow on the front with the falling snow die and the same glitter glaze. Okay, so just a different take if you want a flatter card. But let me tell you, dioramas are way more fun. You got to give this a try. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Everything I used today is listed underneath this video. There's also a link over to my blog where I will put all the cutting instructions for you. And if you enjoyed today's video, I really hope that you would consider giving me a thumbs up and leaving a nice comment, and even more so, sharing it with your friends on your social media. Until next time, toodles and happy stamping.